Very slender in the old face. You've
It's me.
bravo.
So either the new diet or that I was sick like a dog last night. I don't know. Man, I hope I'll have enough energy. No, I will. I had a shitty night.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we'll need this.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Never gets old.
Yes. Hello, Alex. It's been a while.
Here we are. Here we are.
We are. Finally together again.
It's nice to be back.
No, it is. It is. We're recording this March 6, 2024. Until a few days ago, I was still saying 2023 for some reason. I made so many mistakes. We are on YouTube, man. We're not streaming on YouTube, guys. Do not get your hopes up. YouTube is reserved and completely bookmarked by Alex's attaché. It's just that Google Podcast is apparently shutting down, so I transferred the podcast on YouTube so that it can be listened to there and on YouTube Music. I don't have any experience on YouTube as you do, Alex, but stop sending me spam about optimizing my channel, everyone, please. I'm getting
Oh my God, it's relentless.
Goodness sakes, I mean, they all want to optimize our Layovers YouTube channel. It's basically an image of the logo and just us talking, so nothing fancy. But anyway, I don't know if you get that. It's just crazy.
All the time. I get it all the time. And then when you hit an inflection point, you're just getting inundated with quote unquote partnership opportunities, which 9 times out of 10 are just either data collection to figure out what the average fees are or genuine scams where they try and take over your channel.
Oh, God. Yeah, oh yeah, because it will of course ask for your sharing the account so they can look at it or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yes, and yours now is gold because I guess with all your subscribers, it's fantastic. Anyway, so yeah, we are YouTube guys, but no live stream yet, especially a day like today with my ugly face, even though Alex was very kind to send me a little slender. I don't know if that's a compliment to you.
Yes, of course, absolutely.
I just want to do a quick shout out, which will also actually concern you, Alex. Is Carlos is host of Plain Talking UK.
Oh, great!
The reason is that he went to Geneva after he saw Attaché.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he did basically the exact same tour we did. So he contacted me. He says, "Paul, I decided with Gemma." Is better have to go to Geneva, and they asked me, of course, advice, which was exactly the same than on Attaché, because of course some of the stuff on Attaché he doesn't have the addresses and stuff. So he did exactly the same that we also discussed, kind of I think episode 129. So yeah, so
amazing.
Yeah, had a good time. I told him it was expensive. I don't know if he found a ring in the Our chocolates though.
Oh dear.
Also, shout out to Han at Han Chicago, one of our very long-term listener, who says he sent us pictures of him listening to our podcast in what looks like to be Etihad Studio, the business class. He says nothing to watch on the EY IFE, no problem. Thanks to the guys on Layovers. Thank you. I hope that complimented your IFE experience at Etihad. And one last shout out, we've stopped doing some shout outs lately just because we have so much to talk about. So pardon us because people are still very much interacting with us. I'll come to that later, actually. This one, a big one. It was Vaskin. He's on Instagram at a certain viewpoint. He's been following Layovers, I think, for a little while, and suddenly said, I know Paul. I met him actually in the Balkans in a conference. He even interviewed me back in the day and lost my pictures, and he's very sad that I'm not posting anymore. I'm going to start reposting this year, probably. He said that he discovered the podcast quite late. That was in November. And he's been starting listening to the podcast from episode 1. And in November, it was at episode 38. And he says it's so interesting to see and listen, of course, how the aviation world has been changing. And some of apparently our predictions back in 2015, I guess I'm sure some of them didn't fly well. Like, for instance, smart luggages. Or some apps that we were mentioning didn't survive 8 years later. Yeah. And he says it's really like going at school and or reading a history book. That's nice.
That's kind.
Yeah, that's kind. So
considering most of it is just our, nonsensical and completely unabashed opinions.
Exactly. So thank you, Vaskin. That was very kind, and I hope to see you again, maybe in the Balkans next time I'm there, probably in the spring. So let's play the music for Gen Kanai. I forgot to actually say Gen Kanai in the last few episodes, so let's play for you, Gen. I hope you're well. I'm regaining energy thanks to you being on this podcast.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
So, Alex, let's start with you. It seems that we have this kind of tango in the last few episodes. One time is me starting. This time is going to be you. You went to the US. You told us last time that was your next flight, I think, or at least I saw some Instagram stories. New York, I think. Was it the Bronx or was it? Well, you were not in Manhattan.
It was the Bronx. Yeah, we were filming in the Bronx, so stay tuned.
I didn't realize that. Oh, okay. I thought you were just on your own. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're filming in the Bronx. We have made it our mission, or Greg has made it his mission to complete all 5
boroughs
of the boroughs, and that will be 4 or 5 once we publish it. But yeah, that's why we went out there. It worked out well because there was a pretty reasonable fare. Actually, transatlantic fares are not that bad at the moment. And even though we chose to book a little bit later than I would have liked, which is entirely my responsibility, I don't know why I'm putting it in the second person like that. It was very reasonable. And Megan was already in California. She flew on BA to California on a 380 to San Francisco, and then to Washington, D.C. on Alaskan. We actually, it's interesting, and maybe we'll talk about this later, but before she booked that flight, she was looking at all of the possibilities to get from the Bay Area to Washington, D.C., where she wanted to go to an art exhibit. And she said unprompted, like, is this airplane a MAX?
Oh, wow.
And I don't, she knows that I'm and encourages my avgeekery, and participates in the periphery as any sane person can. But it wasn't, she had read it of her own accord, and not really asked me about it. And then when this opportunity came up to look for flights, she said, that's a 737. Is it a MAX? And because it was shortly after the whole Alaska thing we talked about in the last episode. And I said, no, it's not. It was an 800, but it was interesting to me that a quote unquote lay person had considered making a booking choice based on that. But yeah, so she did all that, and that was fine. Greg and I both live reasonably close to Gatwick, or it's closer than Heathrow.
Yes, same.
And Heathrow, especially at the moment, is a pain in the rear to get to because of perpetual significant roadworks on our part of the M25 that gets us to. So it adds, I would almost like say 30 to 40% to the journey time.
Oh, wow.
Least. Yeah. It's significant. It's
I don't
really
use that road if I use the M4. So, oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it's bad news. So, and Gatwick is much closer. So, I looked at all of the available flights because now, of course, JetBlue fly from Gatwick to JFK frequently. I've done that. It's great, as I reported in one of these episodes.
And as I did as well. Yeah, we both flew from Gatwick, actually.
And it's a great experience. JetBlue in the air is great. Gatwick on the ground is great, or better than Heathrow. But in terms of timing, it wasn't anything, I don't think, particularly to do with allegiance or anything, but just in terms of timing. The fares were all pretty much the same.
Okay.
And the BA flight was just best time for me.
Yes.
And best time for
Greg. You wanted to optimize your time there.
I got it. It was a Wednesday. I had to do the school run, make sure the kids were all happy and healthy and sent off. And then it was just too tight otherwise. So we both opted for that flight. I always let Greg pick whatever flight he wants, for his own personal logistical reasons. But interestingly, we were both prompted with the what are they called? I just did a freaking video on this. Proactive online upgrade offer. So this is on the BA website. You don't get any kind of which is ironic that they call it proactive, but there's no proactivity at all.
I was about this.
There's no email, there's no app notification, there's no nothing to tell you that an offer for an upgrade is available. You go
Okay.
on to the Manage My Booking page,
Yeah.
and in amongst all of the options, pick a seat, order a special meal, add bags, is this upgrade offer, sometimes with a price in the button or sometimes not. And I know it's there because, we've been using BA for years and years and years, but I still think it's kind of weird. And I had a look, and it was hovering around the 349 pound mark to go from economy to premium economy.
Oh, that's okay.
And the great thing is that Flyer Talk, the BA forum on Flyer Talk, have an entire thread and wiki dedicated to tracking these prices.
Mhm.
So you can go on and you see if you're getting reasonable value compared
If you're
to
above or below the usual asking price for that. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot, there are people who are far more experienced and, they sprinkle their opinion into about whether it represents good value in terms of cost per tier point, cost per mile, and all of that stuff as well. So that adds another layer of information to making your decision. But one of the things that I have noticed and that people say vociferously in this forum is don't immediately pull the trigger. Keep checking because it will ebb and flow in price as you get closer to your booking date. And it doesn't, if it goes up, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come down or won't come down because it often will. And it eventually came down to 306.
But so you have to go and manage by booking constantly.
You have to, and yes, that's a great point.
There's no alert or whatever.
There's no alert. There's no way to keep. You have to just keep going and looking and seeing if if you're lucky with a price. And I want to come back to that vis-a-vis Megan's experience because she was on BA as well. But eventually I pulled the trigger on the 306 because 306 represents good value in terms of tier points, miles. The cabin was empty. I was looking at it on Expert Flyer, so I knew I didn't have to rush into making that decision.
Yeah,
but,
that's key. Yeah.
It is key. I was
Always.
bringing a bag too because I was going to the US and needed to stock up. I needed to go to Target. So, and it's 55 quid to check a bag one way and I had baggage only fare. So I put that against the upgrade fare and, it started to be reasonably attractive. So I pulled the trigger on that. All very straightforward. BA have been tinkering with their booking flow and their Manage My Flow, especially when you're logged in as an executive club member.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's not bad.
But it's part of their current massive program of improvement, 7 billion, not 7 billion in the app and the IT. But they are releasing a new app and they are saying that some of the new bits are already appearing, not to all, on the website.
Yeah.
I've seen parts of them as well.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better. And so I get to Gatwick on the day of the flight, and I haven't. Maybe you've done this recently. I don't know, but I haven't needed to check a bag at Gatwick while flying BA in a long time. So I haven't been to that check-in area in a long time. They've done a really good job of working with what was available to them. So they've created this sort of. It's not a first wing by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a partitioned section of an otherwise homogeneous check-in area that has a sense of exclusivity to it. It's for business and first, because there's not a lot of first traffic out of Gatwick.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Or anybody with, I think bronze and above.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
it's pretty
think.
open. Yeah, it's good.
Because Megan is about to lose her bronze and getting all pissy about not being able to use. She's going to kill me if she hears me saying that, about not being able to use the business class check-in, which is only a London-based airport perk, as we discovered at JFK. But they've done a good job. It looks.
Who else did that? Is it Qatar? Maybe it's Qatar.
That like a separate section.
That they have. I might be mistaken, and this is minutia for people who don't live in London, so I'm not going to dwell on it. But yeah, I think Qatar. I remember one of my latest post-COVID, I went and they had like this, like you said, a separate section, which is still part of the checking. It was not a different door or whatever, but it felt a bit more exclusive. And There was
Yeah,
even like
there
a
was-
chair you could sit on, and there were
Exactly the
chairs,
same thing.
sorry,
There's
yeah.
like a separate.
Yeah.
It's not even an entrance, and you to nothing really. You're just going to the same place, but it is sectioned off.
Yes.
There was no one. There was plenty of check-in desks, and they were all manned. And I didn't have to wait at all to go and check my bag. And the person was, efficient. I asked if anybody was sat next to me, and she had a quick look for me and said, "Actually, no. There's no one in the entire bulkhead row."
Nice.
So I messaged Greg and I said, "You should ask at check-in for an upgrade," because he was humming and hawing too. I said, "The whole cabin is quiet," but then you go back out behind the partition and you're back into the main terminals. So but it's nice. I mean, I think it's a little thing, but you feel like it's a slightly more quote unquote premium experience, even with just some plastic walls.
And it gives also a sense of ownership of that part of the check-in experience, because sometimes at Gatwick, for those who don't fly there, but I'm sure you have experiences similar in some other airports, you just basically see the sign above on the screen that says BA or whatever, and it feels like, it's yet another, whereas that it feels like their own, of course they do not, but this is their own experience, and it's differentiated from anyone else. So that's good. I haven't seen it because I haven't flown BA from Gatwick. No, I've flown actually, like you, Euroflyer, but I didn't check in anything, so I didn't go to the BA check-in. So,
and I think the last time I did was pre-COVID, and the
same.
premium section was much smaller. I just read this morning that BA are significantly re-expanding. I don't remember their long-haul presence at Gatwick.
Yeah.
So they're adding, Bangkok and a few of these other places as well. So they're clearly building up to something a little bit more significant.
They've done a lot of announcements. I don't want to be BA-centric on that podcast, but they've done a lot of announcements, including a new first class that will appear, I think. So how they created a BA club suite for business class, and so they've kind of changed a little bit the current first class to kind of keep up with that. But now they're going to announce a full suite, apparently. New app, everything, new customer experience. We talked about it in a few episodes, but I think it was repeated a few days ago. Is it because ITB Berlin is starting today or yesterday? Maybe that's why. But so we've. Look, at the end of the day, what I want is that manage my booking on their app just works. That's my
exactly.
My first port of call of any investment that they do.
All of that stuff seems to be slowly moving in the right direction.
Yeah, correct.
And this is another example of it. It's a signal to frequent travelers and, frankly, frequent critics of BA. That they are evolving towards something that's less terrible than it used to be.
Keep trying to trust us. We're going into a better place. I think it's good because a lot of people. I mean, we were all complaining. A lot of people are complaining, yet they're not moving. But because of the people losing their status, me included, soon, half a month to go. So people have more choice, and then they're at risk of moving away from BA. So I think it's good that the timing couldn't be better, basically.
Yeah. I think they've done well, and I think you can see it. I mean, certainly throughout this experience, the lounge, I've talked about it, was it in the last episode or the previous one before that the lounge at Gatwick in the South Terminal for BA is really good. It's really, really good.
Like
even
it.
business class, but
business class.
Yeah. I mean, I said it multiple times now. It's a good lounge.
Yeah.
It's well lit, good views, good food, everything that you would want. Lots of plugs, lots of seats. It's very busy, but not too busy where you're not ever going to find a seat or anything like that. So I like it. I think it's impressive. It's a quiet jewel in the crown compared to how tired some of the Heathrow lounges are.
That's also, thank you for triggering me that memory, because I don't have notes about this, but I read it again, maybe yesterday because of ITV Berlin. They are introducing a new lounge concept. So they're going to revamp all the lounges, starting with, strangely enough, Dubai, Miami, and then they're going to do the London ones. I guess no. I guess they're introducing the concept because they're currently refurbishing the one in Dubai. They have a bigger one. I've been only once to that one. I think I talked about it in the life of this podcast. He was kind of and now I think they even have two because there's too many people. So they're going to create a new one, and that's when you will first see the new lounge concept, which I guess is, I don't know, colors and maybe the type of furniture and the type of philosophy of that lounge. So let's see. But
that's good.
Probably meaning we'll see new lounges at better refurbished lounges, at least at Heathrow. And the one at Gatwick doesn't need a refurbish. It looks good still, right? Yeah.
It really does look good. Yeah. They don't need to do anything with it for a while. I think it's a great lounge. Greg joined me there. I was able to get him in on my silver, and there's no problem. There's no issue with that, and I appreciate how you're not sort of.
Do you know, I still don't know if I'm going to be having a soft landing at silver or go directly to bronze. Yeah, but since they gave me almost a gift. Look, I wasn't supposed to be gold this year. I was 20 points away, and they still gave it to me, which, meaning I was really, really close. But this year, I'm not close at all. So I don't know. I'm going to learn. Maybe.
I reckon you'll just bounce to silver.
Maybe, yeah. Again, if they were smart, they would do it, as in, not because of me. I'm no one important guy. So I'm talking about if you don't want to lose the customers that have been gold for 8 years, I said the last time. Yeah, so 8 years. So, of course, maybe in their algorithm, maybe we can still catch him to stay with us. Yeah.
I think maybe you're overestimating their IT ability.
Yeah, well, that's possible too.
But still, no, I think well, you'll have to come back and tell us, what happens in a month.
Yeah, it's going to be in a month, I guess. Something.
But I like that.
Sorry,
I like that when you bring in a guest, you're not made to feel like they're doing you a favor or anything like that. And I've had that with some airlines in some instances, we'll allow it. It's like, no, I am
part of the perks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, everyone's they make jokes about it and all that. But,
yeah, it's like a bouncer in a nightclub, right?
Yeah.
Of course. You don't have the right shoes, but you can still come in.
Yeah, exactly. There's a little, exactly. No, there's none of that. But I have had that with some airlines where they give you a little bit of that. But while I was waiting for Greg, I was looking at I could see the plane from the lounge, and this 777-200 was 25 years old. And I remember getting on some BA 747s and going, 21 years old. My God, it's long it's glorious, and older. Had some venerability to it as queen of the skies and all that. And I'm thinking 777-200, okay, 25 years old, that's fine. These are the workhorses that have just, they've really proven themselves over the last quarter of a century. And it wasn't until we were halfway over the Atlantic, I was like, God damn, 25 years old. I don't know if I've flown on many planes that old. Honestly, that's an old airplane with a lot of cycles on it. But to BA's continued credit, you stepped on board and it did not feel old at all.
Good.
Not in the slightest. It was as you walk through club, it's the old yin yang seats that they're, but they looked, the ones on the 380s and the Dreamliners looked way more beat up than these ones did. And these are leisure route. These planes serve exclusively, I don't know if you don't call New York, other than New York, exclusively leisure routes. So you're going to have a lot more upgrade traffic. Those cabins are going to be a lot fuller. The premium economy cabin was clean and felt newish. There was not wear or tear or anything like that.
Good.
That you so often get at the seams of the carpets and all these airplanes. No, this was great. And it had, God, I can never remember who makes them, but it had a different IFE system than they have on the A380 and the Dreamliner.
Oh.
Is it Panasonic on those guys and Thales on the 350 and the 777s?
One or the other. I think these are the two they're working with, yeah.
And it was outstanding. Oh. The depth and breadth of content was really surprising.
Nice.
It was great because I had a comparison with Megan because she flew home with me. So she on a 777-200, and she was like, "What the hell is that? I didn't have any of this. This is I feel like I got ripped off. But there was tons of TV. There was tons of movies. The moving map is really great.
Wow.
Nice big screen on in premium economy. I was at the bulkhead, so I had the ones that come out of the armrest there. Responsive. It was an impressive experience. It felt as good as a Cathay in terms of the cabin experience, the comfort. Wow. Yeah, and you get your little crappy amenity kit, but that's fine. It was a day flight. The food, as we talked about in the last podcast, you and I, and actually it turns out Greg as well, we're all trying to eat a little better.
Man, I'll tell the story because I have the notes later on, but basically I don't think that I can tell already. I think I've gotten more feedback about our food choices than about anything related to aviation. It's like everything, like no, but it's anyway. But let's put it that way. It's interesting because it will allow us as well to sometimes review or talk about food, because we don't really review, but talk about food in a different way because of the choices we've made.
Yeah. So I opted for the fish, which is dubious.
Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah, it's exactly where my brain went too. But actually, it was really, really good.
Nice.
It was baked cod on a tomato risotto with vegetables that weren't overcooked mush. They were good. It's like, what's happening? What's happening here?
That's nice.
Yeah, I didn't have any booze, but and then they give you towards the end of the flight, they give you the same hot snack that they give you in economy, which is this sort of hot pocket, for want of a better description. Interestingly, Megan had left a few days before, and again, I keep going back to her because this really interesting to compare notes. She was basically live texting me her flight as she went over on this.
You taught her well, man.
I know. BA have reintroduced a second tray meal on flights to California, Nevada, and Arizona.
Yeah, because it's long enough, I guess. It's good.
Yeah. So she got a second full meal towards the end of the flight, where she was actually looking forward to the bag with half a sandwich and a Kit Kat in it, which is what they've done. I think they started that during COVID, but they've now, I don't know what it's like. To be honest with you, I can't remember if I got that when I went to Hong Kong, but certainly it's for North America, it's just those three states, of which there are probably 6 or 7 destinations. We did not get that. Our flight was 7.5 hours. Very turbulent for the last 90 minutes. The winds, the jet stream leaving the northeastern United States was very pokey. So
have you read about that? There was a record speed the other way.
Last month.
I think there was
all of these records were being broken.
There was I think there was a flight that went above 840 miles per hour. I think it was from Philadelphia to Doha. I don't have the news in front of me, but there was like a few others above 800. All the records were broken. So of course, if you were going the other direction,
and you're crossing that, which we did, and it was all the way down because the weather in New York wasn't great when we arrived. But the service, what I've noticed on BA lately consistently is the service is much more punctual than it used to be. It doesn't take forever to get a meal like it used to, but there's no character, there's no smile, there's no engagement. It's not rude or
efficient, basically.
There's just robotic.
And
I think that, almost without exception, the cabin crew in the economy, premium economy there, economy on the way back, were all very young.
There you go.
And so I wonder if there's a culture thing here, both at a macro and at a brand level. So
we
it was
said,
interesting to
the
observe.
memory of some of the culture, the expressions of the culture have been lost, and maybe also they're not being taught, or they have to hire faster, and maybe they will get there. Maybe it just takes they go to I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad, I guess is the point I want to reinforce. It was just there was no personality to it. But it was, and the great, wonderful, amazing thing is that now BA go in and out of Terminal 8. I had flown out of Terminal 8 a few times, but I hadn't flown in. And I was thinking about our last trip to New York to film, which was almost exactly a year ago. And Greg's 4.5 hour immigration thing.
I remember.
And it was, we landed at 6:15 at night.
Mhm.
And I had some family stuff, emergency stuff happening while I was in the air. And so I was like thinking, I might have to leave Greg here and go and sort this out. Off the plane, and he was very cool about it. Greg is a very kind and accommodating guy. Off the plane into immigration, not a soul, no one.
Wow, nice.
And not a single person. And for me, it was glance at the passport, look at the camera. Okay, you're through. I would, without exaggeration, 15 seconds at the immigration desk.
Wow, nice.
Greg clocked in at about 40 seconds, and we were through. We both had checked bags while I'm kind of on the phone with two family members at the same time, trying to get to the bottom of this situation. Greg's bag comes. We wait and 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 wait. And my bag was the last bag off of the airplane, even though I had my useless priority tags on them. And it kind of comes like limping down the conveyor belt. And I pick it up, and the thing is soaking wet somehow. I don't give a shit, but I'm like, how did this happen? You know, how did it get so wet? You know, but it did make me laugh because I have zero expectation of my bag arriving, let alone arriving in a timely manner. So if it appears, even if it's the last one, I'm like, victory. I chalk that up as a massive win. So there, I can't get mad. And then, a quick Uber into Manhattan, where we were staying near Grand Central, and interesting few days filming in the Bronx before Megan came up from Washington D.C. on the train and joined us for the last kind of 36 hours of the trip. And yeah, I think that experience was absolutely worth the $300 upgrade fee, because it was on top of an already low fare. And I think the product and the experience and the 2 free bags, not free, but 2 included bags in that fare, were worth it, frankly. Because we were in economy on the way back. The same offer appeared. Greg asked at check-in, and the price that he was quoted at check-in was £389, which I thought was really interesting. The cabin was still empty, but it was nearly, what is that, £80 more than I was quoted.
And
online.
also the flights are shorter on that direct. Or,
yeah.
Well,
so I think, a genuinely positive experience. On the way back, T8 is a busy little terminal because it's got American, Iberia, British Airways, Cathay, Qatar, obviously the One World crew. And, you're looking at 8 or 9 BA flights alone daily.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Yeah, I think it might be 8 or 9.
Yeah, probably you're right, actually.
So the first kind of hurdle that you come into is getting to the right check-in area. And this is where it got weird, because Greg went to the premium economy section because he had chosen to upgrade himself on the way back, and Megan and I were going to slum it in economy. And we went to the business class section because I can use that with silver. There wasn't anybody in the area, but all the desks were manned, and would go up to this person that the kind of usher told us to go to. And I go to him, I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she sort of smiles at me and doesn't say anything, and then mumbles something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm sorry. And she just shakes her head. And she said, are you checking bags? And I said, yes, 2. And I put them on the thing. And then she mumbles something. Like, I'm sorry. And then she shakes her head. And I'm asking questions, and she's only shaking her head or nodding, not saying anything.
Is she AI or something? Sorry. What the?
Worse, she's on the phone.
Oh. No
She's
way.
having a chat with a friend.
Oh my God. Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
And I only clocked
no.
it after like sort of 3/4 of the way. She has her AirPods in and she's on the phone with a friend.
Come on. No.
And as a result, my TSA pre number wasn't on my boarding pass. And so she wasn't listening to me. So she took Megan's TSA pre number off of hers. While I was like, no, hers is fine. It's mine that's not on there. Can you please put it on? And she said, no, it's on there. And I'm like, that's hers. Mine just says fast track. And I said, where's fast track? And she said, there isn't fast track. I'm like, what's the freaking point then? And then she puts the bags through. There's no priority tags put on them or anything like that. I say, okay, bye then. She doesn't say anything. Meanwhile, she's sort of grunting into her AirPod. It was unbelievably unprofessional. I was shocked by the experience. And I thought maybe it's my imagination. Maybe I say this completely seriously. It's like, maybe there's a disability I'm not seeing here, which is why I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. And Megan was like, she was on the phone. It's like when you get into an Uber driver and they start talking to somebody on the phone and you think you're talking to them. They think
Maybe that's a protected class nowadays. If you're on the phone, that's a disability.
Yeah.
No, sorry. But this is.
I was like,
I know it's weird.
Oh,
because
no.
I was exactly remember. It never happened to me in the checking desk, but for me, the example that you just gave is something that happens often. With the Uber driver, or the taxi driver is actually talking, and you're talking like, is he talking to me? Yeah, but that's a different setting because I don't really care. I know you shouldn't be talking when you're driving, blah blah blah. But I mean, it's not the same as having an interaction, which is me checking in or talking to someone that customer service fronting you. I mean,
yeah, and
no way.
Just as importantly, not doing her job properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Failing at multiple things. So it was very strange. And I just, Megan and I both had TSA pre, which was a godsend because the line for security was insane, and poor Greg got stuck in that. But I just sat in the relatively brief TSA pre line, just thinking that did that really happen? Did that? I can't believe that. That's so bad. What a staggering lapse in customer experience. But it is what it is. It did come back and bite me in the ass at Gatwick, but through TSA pre quickly and into the Greenwich Lounge, which is the business class lounge for AABA customers. And that I had been into before a couple of times.
Yeah, you
and
mentioned.
It's a good lounge. It's always really, really busy, but the food is good. The drinks are really good, actually. It's got great views over a busy part of the tarmac, so you're always seeing things coming and going. Very comfortable chairs. They work hard to keep the place tidy, and which is no small feat, just because of the turnover.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I'd been thinking about this and actually worrying about it before this whole trip even began, going, okay, I've got my wife with me and my work wife with me. Who do I bring into the lounge? What the hell's my strategy here? So I thought about it and did some research, and I'm like, I got it. I can bring Megan into the BA lounge with me, and I can get Greg into the Admirals Club, because there is an American Admirals Club lounge.
So you enter with him, then you leave, or the other? Yeah.
Yep. And so I brought Megan into the Greenwich Lounge, which is right there, because Greg was waiting to get through security, and then he messaged me. I went down, picked him up. We walked to the Admirals Club, and I thought, is this going to work? Is there going to be someone saying, you're already checked into the Greenwich Lounge? And I'm like, that's massive overestimation of the BAAIT thing. So we go up to the desk, very friendly welcome, and a woman scans my boarding pass, and she said, are you BA Silver? And I said, yeah. And she said, and I was like, here we go. They busted. And she said, you're eligible to go in the Greenwich Lounge. You know that, right? And I said, yeah, but I've never been in this one before, which is a lie. And she goes, "Oh, you're going to be really disappointed." I was like, "Oh, I appreciate your candor." She's like, "Anyway, enjoy going." And so got Greg settled and then went back to Megan's. But it does work. That lounge, the Admirals Club lounge, it is not great, but it's old. It's much older than these new Greenwich and Soho lounges. So expectations were low. Greg was just happy to be able to sit down and have a beer before he got on the flight. But this flight was very, very light. I think there were probably 110 people on the plane, on the entire plane. So
Wow.
we boarded really quickly, and actually, unbelievably for JFK, left early. We pushed back early, which is just mind-blowing. And Megan and I had a seat between us, which they had blocked off, but there were lots of rows, especially because there's two economy cabins, a smaller one and then a much bigger one towards the rear of the airplane. But in the rear, there was tons of open seats. So I think a lot of people had a reasonable night's sleep. I love listening to air traffic control when I'm in the U.S., especially at somewhere like JFK. And this one actually proved to be totally worth listening to. So I sat there with my AirPod in listening to ground. And the first thing that was really interesting was I was sitting there watching flight radar as these planes were kind of taxiing around us and we were waiting our turn. And a Delta flight to Lisbon had to pull off of the taxiway because a passenger refused to wear their seatbelt.
Come on, what?
Yeah. So the pilot comes on and says to ATC, "Hey, we need to get out of the way here because we have a passenger not refusing to wear their seatbelt." And the controller goes, "Oh, that sucks. All right, do this, this, and this, and just let me know what your plan is." And he's like, "Well, if they don't do it, then we're gonna have to go back to the gate." And I told Megan, and she's like, "Well, what's happening? What's happening? I'm emotionally invested in this now." And eventually, it turns out that the person did put their seatbelt on, they carried on. But pushing back just ahead of us, I never actually saw it, except at the last minute, was an airplane with the call sign Amiri 3 Heavy. And I was like, "What the hell is that?" With a Middle Eastern accented pilot. And I was like, "Amiri 3 Heavy, what the hell is that?" Pull up flight radar. Nothing. Blocked. And they're taxiing ahead of us. They're the plane right in front of us. And I'm trying to see, like, I got 23K window seat with no window. Just a wall there. So I'm kind of looking over my shoulder between the seats at this, trying to see what this airplane is. And it was a private A330.
Wow.
With no discernible marking. So it wasn't like a, government of the UAE or king, anything like that. It was just a private A330 with a big gray stripe that went down over the sort of the front, the rear door, the rear doors, the very front passenger doors. And other than that, no discernible marking, no nothing, blocked on flight radar, no idea who it was. So it was kind of interesting. It was to hear that. Whoever it was, some sheikh coming over for a little bit of shopping in New York.
Probably, yeah. Wow.
In their own private A330.
Nice.
So I haven't had a chance to do a little bit more digging. I'm sure I can find it, and maybe somebody listening knows what it was. But this segment is very brief because I got on that plane, I put my AirPods in, and I went to frickin' sleep before we even took off.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Never happened to me. Wow.
I was just beat. We had worked really, really hard on that shoot. It was a tough shoot, and I slept the whole way right until top of descent. And we landed 15 minutes ahead of schedule into an empty south terminal.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and I asked Megan and the crew were exactly how I described on the way over, efficient but robotic. Nothing spectacular about them in any way. But it was it's such a good way to be able to get to and from the U.S. going into Gatwick. Get off the plane. Security, immigration, hardly anybody there.
Yes, it's quick.
So through the e-gates, most of which were open, I had to have a little bit of an argument with it to get it to read my passport. And then into baggage, where my bag was the last bag off of the airplane. Even Megan's bag, who was tagged with mine on the same booking, was off 100 bags before mine.
Oh.
So clearly I've done something to upset the baggage people at BA.
I was about to say.
They've worked really hard to make sure that mine was the last off.
What?
Which is hilarious to me. But overall, a good experience. Good experience with to get over there. I mean, I love the 777.
It's a workhorse.
It really is. And there's something about it, which is, the 747 is gone.
Yeah.
And that was like loud and, a little bit rattly and a slight, something tangential of a bygone era, or tangible of a bygone era. And this is as close as we're going to get. I mean, the plane was 25 years old.
Yeah, 25 years old.
And it felt like good real flying. It's loud when it takes off, and it's loud when the spoilers and the flaps go out and all of that. So you feel, not that I don't appreciate the silent glide of a Dreamliner or a 350, but this is kind of fun to feel.
Yeah, of course.
So good.
So that's,
well done, BA.
But that's not, then this does not qualify as Euroflyer, obviously, because Euroflyer is in the name. So they have they're reintroducing proper BA routes from Gatwick. You said earlier they are adding more routes. So these are proper BA, because for a while, post-pandemic, Gatwick was basically Euroflyer. So this new unit
and they've put a bunch of ex-Heathrow 777s over to Gatwick now. Oh, and that was the last thing I'm going to say on this, is that Megan was on, so she never got one of those proactive upgrade offers on either leg.
Okay.
Anywhere. I mean, she could go in and upgrade, for thousands and thousands of pounds.
The usual, yeah.
But no, even though we were on the same route in the same cabin on the way back, none. And the only reason that I can think of is that she was on a multi-city itinerary. So she flew London, San Francisco, New York, London. And I know that those types of fares, you can't upgrade online, you got to call. You can't amend online, you got to call. That was the only reason why I thought of it.
It's too hard for BAs,
Too hard to
handle.
do. Yeah, I don't know what it is about those particular bookings. But anyway, I've talked for 45 minutes, so...
No, it's fine. I mean, that's the point. I mean, I'm going to talk now about, I'm going to try to be short, but there's quite a few things, and then we'll see what time we have at the end of it. First, a little update about my downgrade. I talked about it the last time with Turkish.
Yes.
There's a reason I say that. It's not that we're not here to giving always updates about whatever happened to a claim or whatever, but it was interesting. I was saying, if you guys remember, that the experience at Zurich Airport had been really good thanks to that ground crew called Beat at Zurich, and everything was super efficient. Afterwards, honestly, there's some good and some bad. The good thing about Turkish is that you can do a lot of line, obviously. They have a pretty well done feedback page when you can attach documents. Can you listen to some other airlines? Because you can feedback without being able to attach, or you attach or in my case, the scan of that paper that tells me that I was owed compensation, et cetera, et cetera. The downside bit is that, so they promise generally an answer in 48 hours, which is acknowledgement of the fact that you've done the feedback, and then an answer within 2 weeks. I always got, at the start at least, I always got a 2-week answer, but a 2-week answer was like, we're still looking into it. Okay. The only kind of confusing bit is that you have, every time you use a feedback, because you cannot reply to the emails. You have to use again that feedback form online. So every time you use a feedback form, if you forget to quote the feedback form number from the previous one, it opens a new one. I learned that the hard way. I didn't realize I couldn't quote back. You need to also quote your ticket number, which it was not for me on the boarding pass, was on that scanning page anyway. And you need to also to quote a case number. So there's 3 different numbers that are not the same. It can be confusing. Just say I learned that the hard way because at the beginning I was just kind of using the feedback form as like I'm replying to what they were saying. Anyway, it took really, really a while for me to get an answer at the end. And finally, in late February, so basically a week and a half ago, I got an email, this time one I could reply to, that explained to me that, yeah, we'll pay you I was like, okay, well, thank you. And it was a form. Oh, first, yeah, because that's the other thing. The email said, you have 48 hours to answer or you have to start again, basically. I was like, what? Yeah, exactly. It says 48 hours, and then this is not valid anymore. Probably not the refund is not valid, but maybe that case number. So thank God, I saw it. So I replied. The form was full of grammatical and orthographic errors. So it was a bit confusing to fill out. Plus, there were some lines, I don't know why they were asking. Basically, it was on these forms just to put my bank details, right? So in Europe, we have this IBAN number and routing number, all that kind of stuff, right? Swift, BIC, whatever. But it was, anyway, I did that. I signed it electronically. I sent a PDF. And then, I had to wait again. And like a week and a half later, so basically kind of now, they said, oh, yeah, okay, so we'll refund you. I'm like, I thought that was said that you would do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, so the whole point being, because it says now, I'm going to talk about Emirates. It started really well, and then they still have some efforts to do as how to both handle their maybe communication channels and, of course, maybe perhaps about simply the process of it. The time we've heard both, I think you have current case actually, just said we don't not going to take about our individual cases, but you have a current case, you're still waiting. The time from the 14th of November to late February, yes, it's long. It should have taken something much shorter for something it was a given. They told me you owed a refund, and I had the paperwork. But I'm not knowing that some people wait for a year to have refunds from other airlines, having to wait 3-4 months for me. I'm like, whatever, I don't have a cash flow problem. But it's more the
principle of
not knowing what's happening in the back, not having like a ticket. So you can go and see
this,
where it is. So that's a bit something that I think Turkey should improve on. Otherwise, it worked. He went from great to being kind of meh, but I still got paid in the end. So I think that's the most important.
Do you think that they do that to assuming that people will just give up?
I don't know, but in that case, yeah, maybe. We've said that about a lot of other airlines, especially during COVID, they were like pushing, maybe because they needed the cash flow. But I think in that case, it's really more of a bad process. I don't think there was bad faith in that case. I think Turkish is a good airline in that respect. I think it was just bad processes. It seemed that my message was kind of lost in the ether, and then somebody else would catch it, and I would repeat the feedback. It didn't help that at the beginning I would use that feedback form without quoting the right number, blah, blah, blah. So it created maybe multiple...
But that's like...
Shouldn't be my problem, but yeah. And especially, again, for those who have done it, you know what I'm talking about. The layout of the page with all these numbers is not clear. At the beginning, you're like, they don't call, for instance, they don't really say that the ticket number is called EMD. And you just have to put what's your EMD number? And at the beginning, I didn't find an EMD number on my page. It was like, what are they talking about?
That sounds deliberately...
Or simply,
yeah.
I think it's a product of a bygone era of when Turkish was a government-owned airline, which was very bureaucratic, and you can still see that lingering on in this, now they're revolutionizing Turkish into being something more modern, which, again, in the product flying, I've seen it. I talked about it last time. But anyway, they've introduced, it's really funny, the day I was paid, I still have my Turkish app. Usually I delay the apps after using them if I don't use them often. And so I still had the notifications on that says, welcome to TK Wallet, so Turkish wallet. I'm like, what is that? So now if you're part of their Smiles and More, I think, Smiles and Miles. Yeah, Smiles and Miles. You have a wallet. And if you agree, so you can simply put money on that wallet and buy stuff, I guess buy tickets and upgrades. But you can also be refunded on that wallet directly. With more money, so they'll give you a bonus to being refunded there instead of being refunded directly to your bank. At first, I thought, okay, they're trying then to keep the money. No, you can actually then transfer back the money to your debit or credit card. So I think this is a good idea, because having to fill this form and sign it, if I could just, but that was introduced literally the day I got paid. So if I could just have like they call it wallet on my app, just put the money there, and then I take care of myself of like saying directed to this debit card or credit card, that would be much more helpful.
That's way better. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're getting there. That was the point. So the story with Emirates now. So it was a rant back back in September when it happened. It got better. It's the other way around from Turkish. And I want to give a shout out to Vinod. He's one of the two hosts of Seat 1A, Fly Seat 1A, the podcast. He was in London. It was after the first, maybe October. I can't remember, Vinod, when we met. We had a beer together. And I'm so sorry, Vinod, because I must have bored you with that story for 20 minutes, because I was so pissed back then about this. I mean, how Emirates was handling it. And I was not also very clear about what was happening. He was looking at me with his eyes like, what are you on about, Paul? Anyway, I'm going to call this segment how Alex Hunter and Layovers saved my upgrade, because it's literally what happened. It's thanks to having this podcast with you that actually I ended up being able to solve this issue. Because, so we're in the end of September. It's 5 months ago, man. Time flies. And so I have these miles that are about to expire, and I've got alerts for quite a while that, hey, your miles are about to expire. But because I fly less, and especially I don't fly to Asia these days, I'm like, I don't know what to do with these miles. And it was the day of expiry was end of September or end of October. So I'm like mid-September trying to say, okay, what am I going to do? I know I'm going every year to Dubai for which I went to. I'll tell the flight afterwards. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to buy the ticket super early and use those miles. And as you know, Alex, because you've used Emirates in the past, the great thing about Emirates, the loveliest thing about Emirates, and when you go on their booking page, you have a very clear view on for how much you can upgrade from which bucket fare you are. So if economy saver, maybe you cannot upgrade, or you need that amount to go to premium economy now, if the flight has premium economy, or if it doesn't, directly to business. So it's very, very clear, which always loved, because for those who've never done that, you have a very clear view of, will I be able to use my miles right away to upgrade myself? And it's lovely. Instead of checking on an expert flyer, is there availability in the cabin, and then having to call the airline. So let's say planning a holiday, this is not a holiday, but planning a holiday thinking, I'll be, you want to take Megan and upgrade her and you to business class, but then still not being sure until you do all the calls and whatever. And then like, oh shit, I cannot do it. So Emirates was great for that. And I say was, because as I'm doing that and I'm talking to you, Alex, I realize I'm like, this is weird. I'm seeing the similar stuff than before. So how many miles you need to upgrade for? And I'm gold, by the way. I'll tell the story about that in a bit, but I'm gold. So meaning I'm seeing that logged in with gold. So meaning I have the not highest. Now they have a platinum status, but a very high status for them. And I'm seeing weird. I'm like, it's the labels have changed. The way so when you are, I'm trying not to do this for too long, guys, but when you look at the results of your booking, when you see the number of miles that you need to upgrade, you can hover or click with your mouse on them, and they give you a little box with some of the requirements. This is, and the new language is, you will be able to check to upgrade at check-in.
Yeah.
So for Emirates, it's 48 hours before flight at check-in. So it's huge change, because before it was right there when you book, let's say you need 50,000 miles to upgrade. You press, you buy the ticket, you go and manage the booking, you upgrade yourself because it was there. If there's no availability, you can put an alert and you can upgrade whenever there's an availability. That's usually for first class because there's very few. But now having to wait until the last minute changes the game a bit because then you cannot really plan whether or not you'll be upgraded. Not that I know it's a very first world problem, guys, right? To be upgraded. I totally get it. But meaning it's not as good as it used to be. And I've checked that on economy, on premium economy, and on business. It was all the same. At that point, I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I can say, maybe I do cash and miles, So basically I use my miles to reduce the price of a flight, or I simply take an award flight. So I use more miles because it's going to be more than those were expiring, and I buy a flight. So I'm looking at all these combinations. I'm talking to you. That'll come into the story why it's very important that I was talking to you about it, and that we have this podcast together. And because I'm doing all this research, trying to say, what should I do? I have the budget, by the way. I have the budget to actually fly in business class, man. So I'm like, should I take some of the budget? I don't know what to do. So anyway, I'm looking with curiosity about this. And then I see a flight. It's not exactly the flight I want, but a flight that leaves from Gatwick. The downside of leaving from Gatwick, I'll put it out there, is that because now Emirates is refurbishing their planes. If you want to have the newer planes, there are very few still. You'll have to fly from Heathrow because that's where they put the newer planes. You just say the same about BA. You're not going to get a chance to fly the newest, brightest refurb on a Gatwick. But anyway, I see a promotion. And the promotion is very clear. There's a green box that tells you this is a promotion, so you cannot miss it when you look at the results. You remember that there's a little icon that has a little seat with a up arrow. That means availability for upgrade. There's another little box with a card and a coin, which means you can use miles and cash to get that. So basically, this is a promo box. And I'm like, okay, so let's look at what this promo box. This is a business class flight, right? It's less expensive than the others, slightly. That's not the promo, but it says in green the number of miles I need again, but this time it says you can do that at booking. I'm like, okay, that's okay. Why? And so I'm why not? I'm going to lose everything with Emirates. Can I do one last hurrah? Very first world problem. Use these miles to upgrade myself one last time. Maybe not last, but at least one of the very few last time I'm going to be in first class. And I'm like, oh, you know what? For the number of miles, because I have the budget, let's do this. I do it. I book. And it was not the flight I originally wanted in terms of timing and everything. But again, because I could use the miles right there. I go and manage my booking. You cannot upgrade with miles.
What?
I'm like, okay. So I call Emirates line. Because I have gold, they recognize my number. So they automatically put you on a gold, so you get no wait time, etc. I got this very nice lady. She looks at it, yeah, it's strange. You're right. And she says, I see availability. I see there's a seat in first. So let me see what I can do. I'll call you back. She calls me back. She says, look, it's weird because I can see, but I can't. My system says no. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you in first, and I'm going to basically save the seat for you. And I'm going to have to call you back tomorrow because there was a time difference. She was clearly in India. Tomorrow to see what I can do. I say, okay, fine. At that moment on management booking, I have basically 2 seats on the way there. I have one in first and one in business class. I'm going to try not to make that story too long. Anyway, then the next morning, somebody else calls me back. I see a number clearly from India. I'm like, this must be Emirates. We've introduced, since the 23rd of September, we've introduced a new rule which tells our customers you cannot upgrade unless you're within that check-in time frame, so 48 hours. And I'm like, yeah, but on that one, it said booking. It said, yeah, no, we cannot give you the seat. Like, yeah, but it's there. I was like, can I escalate this? Yes. So we're going to call you back. A bit later that day, they call me back, and this is clearly some kind more like manager style. He's very pro, but he's clearly reading a script, and basically saying, there's no way, goodbye, sir, it hangs up on me. While saying, I should have said, because it's not rude, he said, we're gonna give you back the miles you've used and extend the validity for a month, which for me is useless. But I'm like, okay. And basically doesn't allow me to counter. And I'm like, okay, this is really not what I wanted. I don't have the flight I wanted because it was not the time I wanted. I would have used the miles differently than if I couldn't use them. I would maybe go on premium economy, upgraded me to business, whatever, something else. I'm like, okay, so I write to the feedback. This is a feedback form. The feedback form, you cannot attach any documents. And that's what saved, and that's why Alex and this podcast saved my life. Because I was interested, this is a new thing they've done, introducing this new check-in period for upgrades. I have screenshots of literally everything. Because sometimes for the podcast, instead of, so you guys, it's not a trade secret, but instead of writing down the story, I take screenshots of stuff and I put them in my notes so I can trigger my memory. So I've literally screenshots of every page, the booking page, the fact that I had a first class seat. So I write them and I says, guys, I'm unhappy the way it was dealt. I was told it was a promotion, but I cannot attach any of this, right? You get the usual acknowledgement. Then I get a boilerplate answer. Basically, upgrades cannot always happen. We're sorry. Goodbye. So I reply to that email because it says in my email, it says, here's a screenshot that shows that I was able to, and I tell a little bit the story. No reply for a week. Okay. Then I use that email again. I reply to myself. Somebody else answers, I'm going to look into it. Okay. Nothing. So I write again, and when I write again, I got a auto office, office reply. This email is now no longer valid. Please use the feedback form.
Oh my God.
Which tells me they may be rotating these emails because otherwise too many people try to email them out of the blue and people share them on Flyer Talk and all these things. So I'm like, okay, so back to the feedback form. So this time what I do, I attach some screenshots with a Dropbox link so since I cannot attach.
Smart.
They do not look at them, clearly. Again, I get a boilerplate answer. So this is for 3.5 weeks here. I'm trying to. So this time I create a 3-page PDF, which has exactly all the screenshots that I just told you. I have on it, I have 6 screenshots with, labels, explanation, arrows. This is what happened. And when I send that, someone says, yeah, we're going to look into it. It took a few weeks, but they ended up basically saying they didn't admit any fault or whatever. Just say, okay, you got your upgrade. Because it's not only that I had the proof that I was supposed to be able to upgrade after booking, is I had the proof that the seat was actually available. Because one of the emails, somebody was told me the seat is not available. I'm like, yes, it is, because that lady of yours had booked it for me, and I have the screenshot to prove it that I was actually booked in first for a while. So I'm going to stop here, but it was really a bit meh to get. And I felt I was not being listened to. I understand, guys, it's a very first world problem to try to get an upgrade in business class, from business to first. I totally get it. But the fight, and somebody like you and me, Alex, we will be able probably, not only because we may have time, we like to fight about these little things. They made it really, really, really hard. And again, if I didn't have any of the screenshots, no way I could have proven that. Because for them to have, no, there's a new rule in place. We just change it. You have to wait until check-in. I'm like, your own booking results told me I could. Yeah. If you just say that, they'll say, no, you dreamt about it or something. But because I have a screenshot of literally every step, because I was talking to you whilst I was doing that, and then I wanted to tell the story on this podcast. My goal was just to say, hey guys, there's a new Emirates thing that just doesn't allow you to. By the way, since then, the wording has changed again. So I don't know if I triggered the change of that wording, but maybe because it was confusing. Anyway, maybe it was just, I'm guessing, I don't think it was bad faith. I think they were actually changing system, and maybe the labeling, because I was like a day after the change of the rule, was not clear. Still, I won. So I got my upgrade. And by the way,
I admire your tenacity.
By the way, by that time, my miles had actually expired. But they didn't like use other miles to get, they they backtracked and used the miles that had expired that I was using back in September to give them back to me to do that upgrade. So they were really fair. So that's what I'm saying is the opposite of Turkish. It started really bad, but at the end I didn't get an apology, and I don't need an apology, guys. I was just saying maybe they didn't want to admit fault again, but I got what I wanted. Anyway, sorry, that was long. But
No, I was on the edge of my seat for that. And I even knew what happened. I didn't know all the details though.
But you know what? It's just, it should be easier, these things, in both cases. It should be a bit easier. And if you don't, maybe it's not your first, because most of it happens in English. If you don't have a proper command of the language, or if you don't have the time to actually follow through to all these emails that get you, because they send you an email like, we're looking into it, and you don't know, should we, and then the email changes. You cannot reply. You have to use the feedback form again, which is, it's not great. I understand that they have a massive volume of communications, and maybe some people send a feedback form like, when is my flight? So they have to sort these things through. Yeah. But it should be easier, man.
It should be much easier.
Yeah, it should be. Anyway, yeah, I'm happy. So let's look to my flight. I usually don't really talk about Emirates because I've flown them so much that it seems to me like it's going to my bathroom to go to fly with them, because like I know every single corner of it. Not that I know every single corner of a bathroom. It was a bad analogy right there. So I said I'm not at Heathrow because because of that whole story, I started at Gatwick, which is great because for me, Gatwick, like you, is a bit easier to get to, and I'll prefer Gatwick. I call it, like I said a few episodes ago, it's a better airport in London right now. The other downside that I just learned just before I was going, that Emirates was introducing a new loungewear. They call it loungewear, not pajama. I don't know if you've seen it. There's even a hoodie. So it
nice.
looks really nice.
I haven't seen it yet.
And they said, you can go to the A380 onboard lounge with it. It can be a casual outfit at the arrival. So you would stay in
Well,
bed.
they're expecting you. I don't know if I have that in me.
Me neither, to be
I'm
honest.
a little bit too self-conscious for that.
But it looks cool, though. I was very disappointed to have it. So I don't know if it goes with, because it was introduced in February 1st, and I was flying February, 14th? I can't remember. So I was like really disappointed I didn't get it. Anyway, it's just a pajama, guys. But it looks nice. Some people don't like the hoodies thing. I do. So Gatwick it is. It's Monday morning. I've got a chauffeur drive. I think I've told you, Addison Lee took over TriStar. So TriStar was the company that was dealing with
I didn't know that.
Yeah, now it's Addison Lee. I'm not a big fan of Addison Lee, let's put it that way. And that was proof that morning. Yeah, the pickup time was 5:55 a.m. The guy arrives at 5:40 a.m., which is fine. They always arrive a bit early. Calls me, which is fine, to tell me he's in front. It says, tells me to hurry. The pickup time is like in 15 minutes. By the way, I was almost ready. I was just finishing my coffee, and I was like, but the way he said it, I was like, man, what the hell? So basically, I told him to F off in a very polite way. Dude. So the drive was very silent. Thank God at that time, the drive is very fast, so that silence didn't last very long, because then I was at Gatwick. So security fast track, that's north terminal, because Alex mentioned south for BA. They're doing some works. I'm not sure if they're adding a new bit of more security or not, but everything felt temporary for the fast track. It felt like it was fine. It went reasonably fast. Then to the lounge. No direct boarding, unlike the one at Heathrow, but it's really nice. It hasn't changed, but somewhat, for some reason, they are able to keep it rather very pristine. The leather still looks good, whereas other lounges, they haven't changed for a while, right? Other lounges feel worn out. This one still feels like it's kind of new, so it's a good thing. Kudos to them. So I leave before they, I think maybe you do the same. I always say, because Emirates have this tendency of, I do that with every airline, but Emirates also this tendency of delaying the boarding of business first passengers because they want you to enjoy the lounge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, you said you have your sigh right there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Exactly. So I know that, roughly 50 minutes, if I leave, I arrive 45 minutes in front of the gate, and the gate is basically open it's already been open for economy. By the way, it's always gates 558, so next to the gates of JetBlue, by the way, at Gatwick. And I would always, from the lounges, they all in the same cluster, you know where the lounges are in North Terminal, you have to walk all the way through that departure lounge, and then you see a sign 558, and then you go back and you arrive at 5. Maybe for you it's stupid because you've seen what I've just seen. That day, I go out and I see an Emirates crew. I'm like, oh, and I see, why is he turning left just after the little pharmacy, just after the lounges? There's a shortcut to the gate that takes you literally 1 minute instead of walking 7. So for those who don't know, just after the pharmacy in the duty free, take a left and you're in front of the gate instead of having to walk. But there's not a big sign that says gates are there. They make you go through the entire shopping thing.
Interesting.
So anyway.
Well, yeah, of course they do.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, I arrive. Oh yeah, at the desk. I should have said that at the desk at the lounge. Oh, you checked in online. So for some reason, I had never checked in online with Emirates. I have this kind of, even if I was not putting luggage in to check in, and she had to register me. Is Dubai your final destination? Do you have a return ticket? I'm like, it must be on your system to have a return ticket. I'm flying with you guys. So she went back to security questions at the lounge to kind of clear me, which they sometimes do, you know, when you're at the check-in counter.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Keep that in mind for later. So, yeah, boarding. I'm the first to enter the upper jet bridge. Of course, it's an 11 years old 380. I mean, first, so it's really weird because, you know, you give, usually, again, I have a boarding pass and you give it. In first, clearly their instructions in it are, they take your boarding pass and they lead you to your seat. This time it's my phone. So she takes my phone and she leads me to my seat. I'm like, am I following her or my phone? Don't leave with my phone.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, look, Magda, she's probably from Poland. I didn't ask, and Henry from the Philippines. They were really great. They knew I spoke French, so they have something on my file, because usually when you show up with a Swiss passport in every country of the world, they talk to you in German. I mean, I speak German, but then I look at them and like, not that language, the other one. so they knew. So that was really nice. Look, I've flown this. It's horrible to say. I've flown this first so many times. You know, I was on the inaugural flight from Tokyo. I've flown it so many times, but it's still stellar. You know, it's not the new 777 FC that one day I will cover because I've done it. But man, it's so comfortable. The leather is so soft that the bar that elevates on the side, the screens everywhere, the basket of snacks, a huge screen in front of you. Yeah, it's a bit tacky and obnoxious in terms of the choices of colors. We know, we said that. Though the refurb is going to be more tamed down, but it's still, come on, it's really, really, really nice. And yes, it's 10 a.m. and I took a cup of champagne because F it, you know, whatever. I'm not going to do that very often anymore. So they give me a pajama, and I found it so do you want a pajama? And they offer you the pajama, and I'm like, it's literally 10 a.m., which means it's like what, 4 hours difference. In Dubai, so I'm like, how is that a night flight? You know what I mean? It's like, so probably, it's very nice. Probably the people have woken up very early to arrive at this flight because it's very early. So I didn't want a pajama, but it gives me the L. So again, they have my size. And like, can I get the M? Because I have the L at home. I sometimes use the L at home, and I would like to see the difference. So I'm like, can I have the M? She's like, really? I'm like, okay. So I haven't opened it, even it's in my drawer because I use it sometimes at home for the weekends or something. Very nice pajama. It looked really cool. The only downside when you ask M is that the slippers also M.
Yeah.
So no way for me. Amenity kit is still great. It's what I like, and I'm going to say it's by Bulgari, but what I like, and I think I said it a few times, is that it's not only excellent, but it's practical. There's deodorant, shaving cream, toothpaste. Hello, Qatar Airways. I love your perfume, but I'm never going to use them. Can you give,
I know. The same with Etihad.
Right. Can you give us something that is actually practical? Anyway, we depart on a rather dull London morning. And you know that departure from that when you take off with a 380, that delta wing that makes it like floating. That's still something that is pretty incredible. potentially they asked me, do you want to book your shower time? Nah, I mean, I didn't want to. Yeah, I'm going to land at like 8
Of course.
p.m. and then I'm going to go to the hotel anyway. But of course, I've checked them out because they're there. And there's something I'd never, ever seen. So either it's new or it just I never paid attention. Above each of the doors of these lavatories, which double up as shower, they call them the spa. So it's in the front of the cabin on the upper deck of the 380. There's 2 doors on each side. And at the top, there's a safety sign that says, 2 people max in the shower. And I was like, is Emirates low-key enticing mile-high clubbing in there? I hasten to say that I went alone in the lavatory, but yeah, I had never seen that. So maybe I never paid attention, but yeah. So food. This is coming back to what you said and all the feedback we've gotten. Yeah, so guys, a parenthesis. I should have said in the last episode that I became plant-based. Not that I'm not going to eat anything else, but I became plant-based because I used the word vegan at some point, and that I think triggered a lot of people. As I told you, I got more feedback about that than in vegetarian and everything than about aviation. Do you know how someone that does CrossFit? They can never shut up about it. It's a bit the same for vegans sometimes. So I'm not going to be that guy, but because I want to talk food, we're still going to be somewhat that guy. I'm not truly a vegan guy, by the way, but let's say plant-based. And I'll do exceptions, for some time, like we said last time. I think Matt Drinkwater at DrinkMatt on both Twitter and Instagram was worried that he wouldn't be able to get sushis with me in Tokyo. Oh, don't worry, I will take some sushis from time to time as well. And not that, guys, by the way, not everything has to be a goddamn culture war. You can choose a lifestyle that doesn't have to be. Here again, we're going to talk a little bit about it because it's the food and we like to talk about plain food, but it's not a point to, trigger anyone or to be triggered, just do whatever. Anyway, so why am I saying this? Because Emirates introduced on early January this year a full line of vegan signature dishes.
Oh, did they?
Yes. So they already had, of course, vegan options. I think they had more than 300. I went on their website to check that. They had more than 300 recipes on rotation before. They even, I think they started introducing even like vegan food, so plant-based food for their crew back in 2018 or something. So they're starting releasing these new signature dishes because they say it's a trend. Clearly, they've seen routes. They always had routes where these were very used. For instance, if you just think about it, Addis Ababa, in the Orthodox faith in Ethiopia, you're not supposed to eat anything but plant-based at a certain time per day. So obviously, that would be an option. So there's this, but they've seen increases. And I think last year was 40% increase in demand of plant-based food in their all their cabins. So they've created these signature dishes. And man, of course I'm in first class, but of course I want to see the pictures online look really cool. I'm like, I want to try their first class vegan signature dishes. So I pre-booked when I was doing management booking, and that was pretty great. The sad thing is that they didn't give me a menu. So they give you this menu, which is the menu you can, is dining on demand on Emirates. But they didn't give me a menu they didn't describe anything that I've gotten because it was a special order. So I cannot even name you what I've got. I just cannot tell you it was bloody delicious.
Yeah.
However, because it's important. The other thing that Emirates has introduced in first class only, this is, I think, late last year, unlimited caviar.
Unlimited caviar.
So caviar is not plant-based. So see, this is one. See, I told you guys I would make exceptions. I mean, I don't really eat caviar. I don't know if you do in your life.
Once or twice.
For me, it's more like, sometimes happen, but it's not something I would traditionally order. But when you're in a first class...
Yeah, that's the only time I've had it.
Right, same. See, I've had it sometimes at Christmas or whatever, but not anymore. That was when I was with my parents or whatever. But yeah, it goes with the territory. So I said, yeah, whatever, plant-based. Of course I am, but this I'm going to do. So it was really funny because there was the crew when they came to me for the food, they were like that Greek grandma, like, are you sure you want vegan? Like, are you going to be, will you have enough to eat? In a very positive way, it was not weird, probably because I think the two guys at that point that were talking to me were Filipinos. So they're like, hey, guy, you need your lechon, you need your other food.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. They hastened to say, you can choose anything you want on the menu on top of it. Like as if you want to top up your choices. I'm like, it was really fun interaction, but you can see they're not used to it yet.
People actually,
Yeah, exactly. But I said, and that made them super happy. They said, yeah, but I'll have the caviar to start with. So they were like, you could see a big smile when I said that. And the plate, man, my God. Is it again because of that, so the Greek grandma syndrome? I've never seen that much caviar on a small plate. It was like all overbearing, like overflowing with caviar on that plate. I was like, okay, well, why not? I finished it. I took my time, first of all, because it's a lot, and also because I have a long flight. And then they bring me another one.
I love it.
Oh, God. With a huge smile again. It was absolutely lovely the way that they were. It was really cute. Let's put it that way. It's I think I officially died of caviar overdose on February 19th. Yeah, this flight. This is not me anymore. And then the vegan food was really delicious. Like, wow, honestly, they didn't have a menu, but it was really wow. I don't have, also, let's be clear. I mean, first it's first, but I don't have any point of comparison. I cannot tell you this is better than the other airline, but having read reviews online and it's really not something I would do. I did it only for the podcast. It looks like a lot of people who are either vegetarian or vegans say that the best options are often to be found at Emirates. So they're very good at doing that. So it's really, really great. I should have said, and then I'll go back to food and then we'll move on. I should have said that, so we are still on the ground. Sorry to backtrack a bit because I just thought about a pursuer. So the first, I told you she was Magda. So the person who does my ale in the first class comes and introduces myself. So she comes to my seat and does the recognition thing. Thank you for flying back with us. Welcome back, blah, 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 because I'm gold. Then the second person that does the other ale comes and does the same thing. Again, not robotic, really well done, not scripted either. You can feel that they're really used to it. I mean, come on, it's first class. Then the head of the first class cabin comes and does the same thing and talks to me. Then the pursuer comes to do that a bit later in the flight. And then some supervisor comes. I had 5 times the recognition.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
So individually, they were really, again, none of them were scripted. So it felt really like heartfelt. Like it felt like, it was just, hey, like, do they have on my file that I'm a casual guy? I don't know. Or they just understood my demeanor, that I don't need a very kind of official bearing type of conversation. It felt really nice because they're really cool people and they tend to be younger as well, as you know, on Emirates. Not that they were young, but younger. Does it need 5 times? I'm not sure. I don't know. But it was nice. And I don't know, we said it, I don't need to be recognized. You don't need to be recognized. It's just that it's notable when it doesn't happen in some cases. In that case, I will point it out again. It was really well done. None of it felt that they had to do it. Didn't feel like that they had a script to go through. Didn't feel like that. It felt like they wanted to come and say hi, basically. So in that case, I'm like, yeah, come on. And it was done in a manner that was not overbearing, not 5 times, not waiting in line in front of the first class cabin with the doors and say, knock, knock, hello, welcome. more in all in the beginning of the flight. So then they leave you alone, right? If you want to close your door and just be by yourself. So why are you asking? You think it's too much?
I think it's different strokes for different folks. I think some people might find it overbearing. I think I would be of the same opinion that you were, that it's nice if it's done in a casual way,
right?
Of recognition. Yeah.
It's really well done. It felt like natural. It felt like almost like a friend was saying hi and checking up. Oh, everything okay? Do you need anything? It's like,
I like that. I think that's.
I liked it
I think
really
that's
much.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I said it. It's been a while, but they have it. First class in Emirates is really, in terms of customer interaction, for me, it's fantastic. I mean, everything is great on that freaking first class. Of course, it's first class, but it's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. So where I was, so the food was fantastic. I just said it. You should definitely, especially guys, if you're in first class and if you're hesitating, there's no issue or ordering this, because then you can still choose a la carte anyway.
yeah. So like you're going to be forced to almost.
So you can have the best of both worlds. Actually, one of the crew told me that there are vegan options in the a la carte anyway. So it's not as if you have to order. You have vegetarian and vegan options. But I still did it because the signature dishes, they looked great as well. The presentation, I mean, we know that it's first class, but everything tasted superbly. It was like, I loved it. And I did it. I told you, like you were like, I told you, I'm not going to do it in every flight. I'm going to pre-order anything. It was like, oh, there's a signature dish. Well, let me try that. And by the way, if you're interested on the website, I think Emirates offers 2 recipes that they actually deliver on board.
That's cool.
I think it's the vegan polenta cake and maybe the pistachio something raspberry mousse. You can actually do it yourself. There's the ingredients, the instructions, and I find it kind of cool that they do that. Anyway,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, right. So then the rest of the flight, I mean, of course, I should say that. First of all, the way you can see it in business class is catching up with first class. And I'm still talking here Club Suite with BA or Qatar Airways with a Q Suite or whoever else, Virgin, whatever, is that now the first class, horrible, the first class seat from Emirates feels smaller than it used to be. It's the same. But you know what I mean? Because everything else is increasing in size, is indoors, and whatever. It's still extraordinary. And I've flown it too many times, so maybe I'm getting a bit, sometimes blasé about it. But I had a feeling that it was smaller than before. It's not the case at all. Again, it's not the case.
It's not shrinkflation.
Business is catching up, and probably I'm too used to it. Even the 380 felt smaller than before. Like, he felt that I was walking from the front to the back. He felt it took a minute, and maybe I was not a kid when I flew that for the first time. It took me it's forever. And it's unfair. I'm unfair about it. In other words, do not listen to me, because there was a couple just next to me. I was in one case, so they were in the middle section where there's actually, we can put 2 in the A380. They were in the 60s, probably. I didn't ask, obviously. They were going to the Maldives, and it was one of these once in a lifetime things. And they had never seen first class, probably, or at least not that one. And they were amazed about everything. I mean, their eyes were like sprinkling, and they couldn't stop smiling.
That's
and
nice.
Yeah. And I remember my parents didn't do first class, but when they were still alive, I sent them in a way to Dubai. I said, you got to check it once. And I was not with them, but they flew also Emirates in business class, and they saw Dubai. For them, seeing Dubai for the first time was like seeing New York for the first time. And flying Emirates business class for the first time, where they had no other idea of what it was the most extraordinary thing ever. And when I was seeing this couple next to me in that first class cabin, I mean, I was like, there's diminishing returns. I mean, we know that with travel, there's diminishing returns in seeing the same thing over and over again, because you don't get surprised. And I think I need to pay attention to not become too blasé, because when I was keeping reminding myself, like, this is extraordinary. You're working not only in an aircraft, but this one has a shower in the front, and I have a door, and I have caviar for unlimited time. And I'm like, why can't I think about blasé? Like, this door is not big enough or some whatever. And maybe actually, you know what? I was also thinking in the flight, maybe it was the same when you flew with Megan for the first time over there, and she saw Dubai for the first time.
Yeah.
You told a little bit the story in the podcast. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it is.
And for our purposes, is here being in a flight, seeing these guys next to me. I mean, for them, it's awesome. Awe is almost why Emirates exists for them, right?
Yeah, it's lovely. I love that.
Yeah.
Reminds you of how good the product and experience is.
And you know what? At the end of the flight, they were trying to tip the crew.
Sweet.
It is so cute. And the team was like, no. Like, yeah, but you looked after us so nicely. It was so cute. The crew kept saying no. They kept saying yes. They were a joy, basically. They were a joy.
Yeah, it's lovely to experience that
Yeah.
even vicariously.
And I'm like, sometimes I need to be a little more. I'm always a kid like you. We both our kids were in an aircraft, but sometimes because we've done it a bit too much, or because our minds is elsewhere, there's work to think about, emails to be done, or whatever. Maybe you're arranging, you're filming, you're still thinking about how you're going to do this when you reach
Exactly.
New York. You forget that this is still a freaking amazing experience, and we should be a bit more like kids. And when I see them, I'm like, they were joyous.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
that's lovely.
yeah, and which is why I come back to the early point when I say I was unfair about Emirates. I'm unfair because I've flown. It's like, what example can I give? When you press the button on the microwave, you've done it 300 times, 3,000 times, and it just hits your food, and like you don't think about it. It's still kind of cool that such a piece exists, and you can. And that's the same for me. Not the same exactly, but I've done this first class many, many, many times. I haven't counted. I should have the list, and I cannot be like that. This is not a microwave. This is like, this is freaking amazing, man.
It's a once in a lifetime experience, as you said, that you've been able to do many, many times.
Yeah. Maybe that's the last for me. I don't know, because I'm not sure. I mean, I'll keep flying them, and of course not maybe to the point of having enough miles to do these upgrades. The worst aspect of my flight basically was the tail camera was broken.
Oh, I it's such a treat when they have those.
Yeah.
Because BA doesn't, and so I don't get to experience it very often. But when they do, I'm like, it's just, I have even more of the child comes out of me.
Right. And that is something I love both in the 380 and the 350. They have this tail camera, and it was fine, but I was like, this is one of my pleasures in flight, just to see the curvature of the sky and
I love it.
this big bird. Actually, and then I'll do my return. Since Tim Clark said that they will keep flying the 380 until 2040.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which actually isn't that far away.
I know.
Which is a little worrying, but still.
He says that they want to keep a careful eye on the supply chain. So, they're going to use parts. So they're going to start cannibalizing parts of the older ones to put in the newer ones. I think they will try to keep 120 or something like that. And at the end of the decade, it'll drop to 90. And then whenever the 777-9 take comes, they will slowly, transition, but there will be still routes when the 380. Actually, he says he says that the 777X will take over unless I can persuade Airbus to build another A380. I've been banging on about it, and each time they consign me to the loony bin. He really wants that 380.
He really does. He won't. He won't let that go.
No, he won't.
Fair enough. You know what?
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's a good airplane.
They also, I think Emirates is also buying some of these planes back from the lessors, probably to have full ownership on them.
So they can cannibalize them.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they will not also. So, for instance, Lufthansa said that they will stop in 2027. I have an inkling it's going to be 2030 because they need them a lot these days. But maybe they're also going to buy some of them back from other airlines to kind of have spare parts. It's possible. Not to fly them, to a spare spot. And then there's the favorite airline of Alex Hunter, Global Airlines.
You know what? We haven't talked about them.
They have one now. They actually have one. I don't know what they're doing with the 380, but yeah.
I don't care. They're just taking up valuable PR cycles that the rest of us could be using.
Yeah. So at Dubai, one tip, the smart gates. So you've been to Dubai. It used to be that you had to register to enter the smart gates. I never actually registered, but now if you've passed, I don't know, that's the only thing I'm missing is a period of time. But if you've passed through immigration, any type of immigration at Dubai, so if your passport has been used to enter Dubai, you can go through the smart gates.
Yeah.
I've done it, and it was super great, super fast. I'm unsure of how it works, but it was great. In Dubai, I did a road trip, man. I went to the desert for for a few hours. It was not to do
Cool.
like this 4x4 thing crazy, just to see the desert. There's an appeal to it.
Yeah, it's nice to be out there. It's very makes you feel very small, which is good for us every now and then.
Absolutely. And you know, especially when so I don't know what's happening, but Dubai traffic is joining Jakarta traffic. It was just horrendous. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, shout out to Anil. Met him in Dubai. He works in the industry, tracking luggage, like they work with Dubai airport, whatever. So they do really massive stuff.
Maybe he can figure out why my bags keep coming off last.
So it was great chatting with him because he clearly loves. He manages. He created his career. You know, he's younger than us. Like he chose the university and everything just to anything I can enter this industry, I will do.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So the return a few days before I get like an email. Oh, you've been selected for an upgrade offer. I don't know if he's proactive or not, but he was like more than 2K to go back in first class. Like, no. So no, I probably have not been selected. Probably they're like, maybe this guy will pay for it. Yeah. So they revamped a bit the checking, first and business checking at Dubai. They're self-checking kiosks. I'm like, I'm gonna try that. Didn't work, but maybe it didn't work because I already checked in via my mobile, so I don't know. The interesting bit was that during the onboarding of this self-kiosk is biometric. You can opt out, but they can take a picture of you and then probably allows you to use biometrics all throughout the airport. So yeah, everything was great. And to the point of having checked in online at the entrance of the lounge, business lounge at Concourse A, they asked me for my passport because, again, they wanted to ask me questions about whether or not I was a resident of the UK. And so it's interesting that this gets delayed later in the process. And they put that sticker, on my passport. I always hate it because there's these two letters and you don't know what they mean. I'm like, is that enhanced?
Like bad. Yeah.
Is that enhanced integration later, or is that like this guy's fine? I was fine, by the way. No hook and tease here. Very slow boarding as always in Dubai. But then a 380 from 2012. I think I flew it already. Not that I recognize it, guys. I'm not that crazy, but play the tail number. Upper business class 23K, one of my usual seats along with 23A, lovely as always. No refurb because again to Gatwick, but great, honestly. I know that the 2-3, by the way, same ITB is starting, I think today in Berlin. The 232 business class on the 777 is disappearing. It will go away. A new thing will appear as at the same time that the 350. They have a 60, 70, 350 coming in. So it's going to be a new business class. I'm not sure the 380 will get it. And might be even a first class in the 350, actually. Lovely crew in that flight, super attentive, smiling, fun. It's business class. It's a bit more people. Again, one recognition, welcome back by name, the one who's taking care of me. One from the other crew in my AL, another from the crew supervising the business, my part of the cabin, and then 15 minutes into the flight, the pursuer, the head of the crew, whatever. 4 recognition. 4.
Wow.
Yeah, they're good. And again, all very personal, all didn't feel forced, feel very casual, so very nice. Was one I want to mention, Ahmed from Alexandria. Yeah, he was not the one directly taking care of me, but he was often passing by. It's like, I don't know, he spoke a little bit of Greek. So it was like 2 kids who decided not to go to school between him and I because we were having a lot of fun every time he was passing by. Anyway, so it was, and there was this other, what was her name? Elena, the crew. She said, that's why she looks at me and says, that's why I love freaking flyers. And I'm like, why? And it's because I had, everything was ready for departure. She didn't ask me to put my seatbelt. Everything was perfectly placed where it should be. She's like, she was clearly having like a kerfuffle with other passengers to tell them to put their stuff.
Right.
She gave me a big smile. Yeah. Will you have breakfast? Yes. It was some kind of, again, vegan signature. It was really good. Then lunch a bit later, she came back to confirm that I had vegan. It was, again, very, very delicious. They call it vegan again. It's plant-based. Don't be triggered by that word. But again, no menu. So I cannot tell you the names of the place I've had.
That feels like a misstep.
Yes!
But I can understand why. Well, actually, I'm amazed in a way that they don't have a little vegan menu card printed out.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need a menu. It's fine. But it's like, I would have loved to say the names, and because it was really, it was the same quality and the same deliciousness as in first class. It's not like drop in quality. It was really, really, really good. Another thing that's vegan is probably the wine. Man, when you see, I didn't partake, but when you see that they have Saint-Estèphe Red 2011 on their business class wine list, now it pays off to have invested in all these wines from 20 years, man. Like, they have stuff. It makes no sense to have that in an aircraft, man.
Yeah, and they gotta drink it eventually, you know.
Oh, God,
when it's in its window.
Yeah. So I land in London. Everything went fine. The email I got from Emirates was like, "Welcome to Silver." Yeah. No, it was completely coincidental, guys. But yeah, to end up my story and back after also 9 years or something, 10 years, whatever, more. Silver.
Wow.
I think it's a soft landing. I'm not sure I didn't calculate the number of miles. So, which is why I'm very happy I've done some of these upgrades now, because they'll be harder to get in the future for me. Yeah, look, it was a bit long, almost an hour talking about all this.
But that was great.
It's a fantastic. So I'm not pissed at Emirates. I'm gonna probably fly them less because simply opportunity. But I would not decide not to fly them. It's true that Qatar is probably slightly better nowadays, I'll be admit, but the crew is still amazing. The people are still fun. Flying in a 380 doesn't get old. Yes, their business class is the same for like now 12, 15 years, whatever, but it's still very good. Honestly, it's still a solid. I loved still this airline. So I'm not pissed at you, Emirates, for having me go through all these feedback form loops forever to get that upgrade.
That was a complete story too. Had everything.
Oh, I tried. Thank you.
I like it. It was great.
We have like 10, 20 minutes. We can talk about a few things. What do you want to talk? You want to talk about the Max? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about Cathay? What do you want to talk? What is triggering?
Cathay.
Not Cathay. Okay, let's not do the Cathay. The Max. What happened with the Max? Oh, you know what? Actually, what was it? The last chance saloon. What was it? What was Tim Clark saying about Boeing? That he had to get the shit together. Basically, I think he's never been as harsh as this, and he's not he's not like Al Baker, known from hyperbole. You know, he's someone that is very poised and I think they're sending engineers to. They don't have the Max, obviously, but I think they're sending engineers to oversee the 777X.
777X, yeah.
Yeah,
I think everybody's. I mean, he of all people, they've lost their patience with Boeing. I mean, it's not the first or second or fifth or 10th or 20th time he's had to go on record with all of this stuff, and I think they're just fed up with it.
Yeah, United is as well. Ryanair. What did he do? He said that Boeing management doesn't seem to have a grip of the situation or something like that.
They just fire the program lead of the Max, which seems like just a sacrificial lamb kind of scapegoat or some other animal. But it was, it's still a mess. It's still a really big mess there.
I know that the FAA, you said it, is coming hard. Did they not? I think they denied Boeing the ability to ramp up their production. So basically they cannot. They wanted to ramp up the production at Renton, and I think also to, are they not building a new assembly line in Everett for the Max as well?
I think so.
But I think the FAA said, nah, as long as you don't fix this.
They haven't resolved that engine anti-ice issue that we were talking about in the last podcast. And it's was it American have just put a big order in for the 10, which still isn't certified.
Actually, United removed the 10 from
United,
from
and did Southwest as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to get there eventually. It's just that I don't know what's the road ahead, at least in the midterm, from here to, let's say, in 3 years. And it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, this is a years long undertaking.
It's the door wide open for the 321 for Airbus because not Southwest or Ryanair will never go Airbus. Let's be clear, right? And airlines always try, no matter, because I know in our audience you probably have like football, like team Airbus, team. I don't care, we don't care, but airlines always try to balance simply when you have basically a duopoly. So it's not here saying anything against, but the absence of a successor to the 757 plus the problems of not having a MAX 10 or at least not being allowed to have one. And it's not only that he's not certified, it's probably the FAA was like, we're not going to certify this for the moment. Is a bit of gives a door to Airbus, but Airbus at the same time doesn't really have the capacity. I think.
Well, I was going to say, they're at full tilt, and they keep getting these monstrous orders. I mean, Air India alone are I was going to say maxing them out, but that was a poor choice of words. They're I don't know what they're going to do.
They're going to need to buy bolts.
Yeah,
there's no bolts anyway. Let's move on because it's not a fun subject. Dan Foster's, DJ Fost, who was on this podcast just before COVID, sent me a piece of news, and I want to hear Alex's opinion. AA has decided that it will soon stop awarding frequent flyer miles and status loyalty points for its AA Advantage program to passengers who do not book directly with AA. So if you book through an OTA anything, you're not going to get your frequent flyer miles, nor your status.
The hotel world has been doing that for years. If
Yes.
you book through Booking.com, you don't get your perks, and you don't get your. I can understand that to an extent. I always advise people against booking through OTAs because if you have to make a change, it becomes just a nightmare. So I can also see why the airlines are doing this because the pricing structure that some of the OTAs use has devolved into kind of the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed it's taken them this long to do it. I think that they were, in the noughties and to an extent the 90s, airlines depended on the OTAs as a distribution channel,
Correct.
And now they don't. Almost always you get a similar, if not better, price by booking direct, and you don't have any of the bolt-ons or the fees or anything like that. So I every time I find a better price and I book it on an OTA, I regret it in one form or another. It does come back to bite me in the ass some way or another.
I agree. I got wood, that was pre-COVID, a few times. I would get a really kind of, through Orbitz or whatever, I would get like a really kind of better price. I'd say, come on, so okay, and do that. And then it would bite me in the ass.
Yep.
It's every time if there's an issue, you need to talk to your travel agent, basically. I'm like, are we still in the 50s?
Exactly.
I have my travel agents on call. You can just
exactly.
No, yeah, it sucks. I always go through the airline.
Yeah,
if I
me
can.
too.
Yeah,
me too.
It just helps everything. You need to be rebooked. You're canceling anything that happens. It's just easier. I agree. Yeah, so I tend to agree. I tend to see the same. I think are they the first airline to do that? Probably, at least. I'm not sure. I've heard from many other airlines, but maybe it's a trend. Let's see if other airlines do that. I'm not surprised either that they would do it. And I think Alex makes a very, very important point. Hotels have been doing this forever.
Yeah.
Maybe not a good feature for the OTAs. What else can we do? Yeah, I know unless you have something you wanted, a story that, because, I took some notes of our travels, but that's about it, that you wanted to mention. Otherwise, I have a segment can quickly go through, but it's still
No, I don't think so. I think let's do it.
Yeah, because since we talked about, sorry, I'm going to trigger some more. I was curious, I was in flight. I had this very good Wi-Fi on Emirates. So I said, okay, what are some of the notes I took in today were taken back then about the food. What are the other airlines that offer good vegan, vegetarian options? And so I said Emirates is considered the best. Swiss. Did I not send you, when you did your Zurich episode, did I not advise you to go to Hilton, the oldest vegetarian restaurant in the world?
You did.
So Swiss apparently has food options with Hilton on board.
What a great idea.
And you can pre-order a la carte, not only pre-order your X meal, but a la carte and get Hilton. That's great. That's a great idea.
Great brand link up. Well, that's so clever.
And ANA has introduced, no, they had it for a while, but they've introduced now also signature line, I think last year, with a chef called Hideki Takayama. Not that I would know who he is, but it's only for flights out of Japan. Is considered also amazing. And to round it up, Singapore, no need to pre-order. And apparently it's a very good airline to fly for plant-based, but many other guys have options, whether it's, I don't know, Qantas, Delta, American, right nowadays they all have it. And that's the bit I wanted to talk about, have your point about Lufthansa's crews have had enough of special meals. So let's forget about the food we just talked about. Do you sometimes order special
every now
meals?
and then. Mm-hmm.
Why?
It's better generally because it's produced at such a reduced scale compared to the other 300 meals on the airplane. I found that they taste better, they look better, almost invariably.
You get served first.
Oh, absolutely, way before everybody else.
I was not sure when I was in first class at the Emirates. It doesn't really matter because there were not that many people, and there's no point. But in business class, was I served first? I couldn't really tell. I don't know. I do not think so. But Lufthansa and many other airlines still do that. But Lufthansa said, and then I went to a rabbit hole of looking into that. Lufthansa said they have 100 special meals per flight.
What? Really?
With some flights up to 200, and it's messing them up because they have, it's not only Lufthansa, but in that case, the story was Lufthansa actually are they going to go on strike for that? They go on strike for everything.
Yeah, I know that.
Lufthansa. Sorry. But yeah, so that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm thinking back to the point I said earlier, that was Addis Ababa, but I could be India. Man, if you fly out from India with a lot of Indian audiences, yeah. So isn't sometimes a problem, that's maybe me, fact that a lot of the airline industry is still operating on a model that was very Western based from the 50s, where the food options are basically pasta, fish, and chicken and beef, and maybe not catering for the entirety of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So and maybe even. It's not a name check, but Cathay is an example. Emirates is another. Even these airlines were set up according to blueprints from people that came a lot from the US and England to help them set up these airlines. So maybe that's the brunt of the problem. But still, 100 to 200. And the problem is that they say they need to. They often have to serve them first, and I'm like, shouldn't just be part of the normal meal. So first of all, I think maybe Lufthansa has a logistic problems. They should have the name of the seat or the name of the passenger on every tray, and then just be part of because that's how it felt at Emirates. It was part of the normal delivery of food. Plus they have a little iPad or little, phone so they can, I think it's, I'm not here saying that Lufthansa stuff is, they have a point that it's a lot, but maybe the problem is that the processes are not good, and maybe also because the airlines have reduced staff in aircraft. So
I bet you it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. Yeah,
and also, okay, another one. Germans will hate me. Germans are annoyed when anything that is not routine.
Right.
Swiss are the same because I'm Swiss. So I'm joking, but yeah, I understand the frustration. I don't know. There were some people online on Flyer Talk that says, yeah, you should ask people to pay for special meals.
Don't think you can do that.
First of all, that's a discrimination. And in many countries, that wouldn't fly. You would get lawsuits if you can say, if you want a halal kosher meal, you need to pay more.
Pay more.
Or even, low sodium if you have like a illness.
High cholesterol or high.
I mean, this is all protected class stuff. You don't do that. And I think, maybe you know that, I'm not sure. I think IATA actually forbids.
That's good. I don't know, but it sounds like something that they would probably get involved in.
You cannot pay extra. But yeah, I understand that it's so I think maybe the option would be bring your own food. For 12 hours. Would you bring your own food?
On BA, absolutely.
You just said it was okay last time.
Yeah, I know, but they used to, on those daytime West Coast flights, you tend to get pretty hungry about 3/4 of the way in.
By the way, this advice: if you're an airline CEO, you're gonna use any of this, you need to pay us a royalty. So bring your own food is one. Serve Indian food for everybody kind of works because usually Indian food kind of covers a bit of everything. And then I have an idea, the last one. And again, airline CEOs, if you use that one in one of your flights, you need to pay layovers or royalty. It's very on trend, like all these new fads. Fasting. So you can fast for 12 hours. No food in the aircraft. That would work. And you just call it fasting. You say intermittent fasting, intermittent flying fasting, and then no food. Sorry.
I like it.
Anyway, as we reach our 2-hour mark, what are your next flights, Alex? Do you know?
Do I have anything booked? I don't. I'm definitely going to Rome next month, but I think I'll probably go somewhere before then too. We're just figuring out where we're going to film next.
Oh, I want to know because you are
somewhere not too far away, I don't think.
Yeah. I'm flying on Saturday. So, yeah, we're Wednesday. So you remember the last episode, because it's kind of a late decision. You remember the last episode that was 5 weeks ago, recorded the last episode? I said I was watching, these boarding announcements at Qatar.
Yeah.
They were talking about all these cities, and well, I did that. I was going to one of those. I'm not going to say it on the podcast. I'm gonna tell you, Alex, afterwards.
All right.
So it's going to be a country I've never been, cities I've never been into.
Wow.
It's going to be, so for the podcast itself, it's going to be 2 new airports and 1 new old airport. I'm going to call that
new old.
For those who are a little bit astute will maybe understand, because I keep talking about this from time to time. I'm going to play the music when I do that. So yeah, surprise for the next episode, probably.
Intriguing.
I'm flying on Saturday, which means, guys, I need to find time today and tomorrow to actually do this one and release it, because then I'm off for 10 days. So yeah,
amazing.
But it's a holiday.
There you go. Good. Well earned.
Holiday with a nice airline. Hopefully, I haven't flown them for a while. I think you have. So it's a lot of hook and tease or something. I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Alex is looking at me. Can you tell me? No, not until I close the podcast. By the way, we should say that, guys, check Alex Attaché videos. I mean, you as always, but you've done a few videos more like explainers.
Yeah.
About your apps you're using and how to get upgraded, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Check those out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, guys.
See you next time, and safe flying. Happy flying.
Bye, guys.